Well, hello everyone and welcome. Hopefully you guys are having an awesome evening. Yes, we are doing more, getting with more with math. If you are a person that is thinking about going to the military and needs help with the ASVAT, if you are going back to college trying to get that promotion at that job, or maybe even a different job, and you need the AccuPlacer, and for those that are thinking about going back to get your high school diploma and get your GED, this is the live for you. So, my name is Audrey and I'm the owner of ACG Math Tutoring. Whoop, right there. Welcome on in. Hey, Nurse Butter, how are you? I'm going to say hi as best I can because the angle of my camera is a little hard for me to see who's coming in, who's coming out. But if you are here, if you know anybody that is thinking about going into any of those areas, please share the live so they can take a look at this. So what I've been doing is I've been hitting on especially the harder concepts that a lot of people will see on those same examinations, the GED, the AccuPlacer, as well as the ASVAT. So I've been trying to hit harder on those questions. I've seen a lot of people doing like one-step equations and system of equations and all that. But I'm trying to hit hard, especially on the linear stuff. If you can get the linear stuff, that, especially for the GED, that's a 4-point question. Okay, not all the questions are measured the same. So you definitely want to hit hard on some of those big type questions. So what we're going to do, we've done slope before, and if I can recall, slope is your rise over your run. If I want to say your y2 minus your y1 over your x sub 2 minus your x sub 1. Now, the reason why I'm actually setting it up like this, because we're going to talk about not just the equation of the line, this is another way to get the equation of the line. And it's called point slope. Thank you so much for the love, guys. All right. Now, point slope, you're probably saying, okay, this looks kind of interesting. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And you're like, okay, where's the numbers? Well, my thing is, if you think about the definition of slope, which is that y sub 2 minus y sub 1, is basically the change of y's over the change of x's. If I make this into what's called a proportion, and I cross multiply, so I would get y2 minus y1 equals m times x2 minus x1. Does this look kind of familiar? Okay, so the only difference is we have like y2s and x2s. That means we have 2 points, 2 sets of points. But this is called point slope. We only need 1 point and a slope in order for us to figure out our information. So it's basically the formula for slope cross multiplied. That's all this is. So I'm going to actually go into our first example. All right. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. So the first one that I'm going to go is I'm going to give you a point. So the point is 8 commas 8. And my slope is going to be a 2. All right. So we want to find what's called the equation of the line. So if we could find the equation of the line, if you recall, equation of the line is that y equals mx plus b. And we just need our y-intercept, that's our starting point, and our slope to kind of help us along. So if I use this point slope form, this is my x1, that's my first x value, and this is my first y value. So if I'm using that point slope form, the only areas that I am going to replace, let's see if I can grab my pen real quick, is basically going to be your m, your y1, and your x sub 1. All right, so if you know of anyone that can use this, I know I've been doing this a lot today. So if you have anybody, any kids that's going in 7th and 8th grade and you ask them, are you currently working on point slope? Are you okay with it? If not, sit your butt down because Miss Audrey is giving out this information for free. So let's get with it. So all we're doing is substituting. So the first y is going to stay exactly the same. The second y is going to be 8. My m is going to be 2. And then we have my first x, which is the other 8. Okay? Let me turn on, maybe this light might help me a little bit. Maybe, just a little tad. Okay? So now, in order for us to get our equation in the line, all we're basically doing is the distributive property. So if I come, I'm just going to distribute. When you distribute, you multiply. Okay? So that means I'm multiplying this 2 to everything inside of this parenthesis. So 2 times x gives me 2x. 2 times negative 8, because that minus sign is acting as a negative. So a positive times a negative gives me negative, and 2 times 8 will give me 16. So from here, everything else comes on down. So that's my y minus 8 and my equals. So with this being said, I want to get y by itself. So I am going to do the opposite of minus 8. I'm going to add the 8. So when I add the 8s, negative 8 and positive 8, they cancel out, leaving me with my y. And now I can bring down my 2x. And then negative 16 plus 8, that gives me a negative 8. So what you just found is the equation of the line that contains that point, 8, 8, and has a positive slope of 2. So now, if I can, I'm going to go ahead and graph it. So I'm going to old school it up, get my pencil, draw it down. Then we want to get our 8s. So we're going to slide it over to about here. Okay, so that's the reason why I have the dots, because I can draw my graph a little bit cleaner. Now, so since we are dealing with negative 8, so that means I should be having, I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But guess what? It's going to be pretty tough because then my graph is going to be huge. So instead of counting by ones, and also I can do small tick marks in between to kind of satisfy everything that I need, I can actually say this is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 8. So if I want to do it that way, I can, all right? So you can just write down what you always want to. Oh, thanks for the love, guys. So what is it that you always want to count by? Do you want to count by ones? Do you want to count by twos? So in this case, I have my 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is my negative 8. Then my x values, again, I can go in between the dots just to kind of have that consistency. But what I do is I start at negative 8. That's my y-intercept. Then I have my going up 2. From the starting point, I go up 2. And since it's a whole number, we always put our whole numbers over 1. So your rate of change, aka your slope, is always a fraction. If it shows as a whole number, put it over 1 so it can be a fraction. So I go up 2 and over 1, and my 1 is going to be kind of in between. I can do it again, going up 2 and over 1. And if you notice right here, I could probably keep going all the way up. And then I have my line. So this is going to be the equation of the line. 1 from left to right, it's going up, so it's showing my positive slope, and then my starting point was at a -8. So when we're doing all this, you have your ordered pair, you have a slope. Anytime they give you that, you're looking at the point slope formula. If you can't remember the point slope formula, all you have to do is take your formula for slope and just cross multiply. All right? So remember, this is just another way of putting it out there because there's going to be times you don't have to do all that. All right? Hey, Jays. Okay, so that's example number 1. Example number 2. So we're going with point at -7 and 10, as well as I'm going to be given the slope. Let's do negative. Let's do -2. Let's do -1/2. Let's kind of zhuzh it up a bit. Okay, why not? Let's throw some fractions in there. I know everybody loves to see fractions. I'm going to try to say hi to everybody as people are coming in and coming out. And I greatly appreciate you guys coming in. So, we have a point. So this is my x1, this is my y1. This is my slope. So the first thing, after you get used to it, you may not have to keep writing the formula down over and over and over again. But my suggestion, when you're first starting to learn something, go ahead and just rewrite it, just so you can get used to it. And then remember, the only areas that you are basically substituting is this y1, the slope, and the x1. All right, just so you can see that. So again, if you're looking at my paper, look, it doesn't seep all the way through, not too much of a mess. But all we're doing is substituting. So we have our y minus my y1, which is 10, equals my slope, which is 1/2, times x minus a -7. And you're probably like, wait, whoa. Why we got a minus a -7? Shouldn't we just put x minus 7? No. And this is the reason why. And this gets everybody. So seriously, this gets everybody. And this could be that one factor that was the deciding case of you passing the GED and you're not passing the GED. So when you substitute, you're substituting that -7 for that x sub 1. It's already going to be negative. That negative stays right where it is. That's what this negative is. But we substitute that whole entire -7 for that x of 1. So now, when you minus a negative, and this is those rules that everyone keeps mixing up. When you minus a negative, that's the same as saying a negative times a negative. Okay? Minus signs can act as negatives. So that means we have 1/2 parenthesis x plus 7. Because when you have, some people say 2 wrongs don't make a right, but in math it does. Okay? So a negative times a negative does give me a positive, and everything else comes on down. So now we're going to go right into the distributive property. So we're going to distribute this 1/2. And I know you're probably like, oh, Audrey, fractions, really? Yes, fractions are numbers too. They need love too. So 1/2 times x gives me 1/2 x plus 1/2 times 7. Now, this is going to be my y-intercept. As long as the number that's next to the x stays as a fraction, this number can be a decimal. Okay, that's perfectly fine. So 1/2 of 7 is 3.5. There are going to be some teachers out here that's like, no, I want it at 7/2, and hey, you're just going to have to make the adjustments. But I'm talking to the people that just need to pass the test, all right? So if we can get something that's relatively close, let's do that, all right? So then we have equals We have our y minus 10. So we're trying to get y by itself, okay? We're trying to get it into that y equals mx plus b. So when we do that, we need to add 10 on both sides. So negative 10 and positive 10, they cancel each other out. That brings down my y. So now we have 1/2 x, and then we have 3.5 plus 10, so that gives me a positive 13.5. And this is going to actually make things a lot easier when it comes down to graphing it. So if I can, where'd my pencil go? Here it is. So I'm looking at my y-intercept is going to be at 13.5. So I'm going to have a nice long line. Oops. Let me try that again. Best thing about pencils is the eraser. I'm not even going to sit here and tell you that, oh yeah, I am like an extreme expert and I never make mistakes. Sure, I use my pencil so many times, guys. It's not even funny. That's why we have the erasable pens, if you like the pens to use as a resource. That's how we learn, guys. We learn by making mistakes, okay? As long as we learn from the mistakes and we don't keep doing it. So, what do we want to count by? Because clearly, this is not going to give me 13. If I count by individuals, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, possibly 9. But if I want to, I can count by 2s. I can count by 3s. I can count by 5s. I can count by 10s. That's as long as it's consistent along the same axes, that's perfectly fine. So let's say I want to count these by 2s. And I know, it's like that'll be 2, this will be 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So if we got that, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, usually I make my 5s a little bit better. So 12, 14. So 13.5 is going to be somewhere around here. Now, here's the secret, just in case everybody doesn't know. If you make your dot big enough, it'll just work just fine. Okay? So from here, I need to go from 13.5, I need to go up 1. So that will be 14.5 and over 2. Now my x-axis, I want to count by 1s. All right, so that'll be 1, this will be 2, that'll be 3, that'll be 4. You can do that, all right? So if this point is 13.5 and I need to go up 1, that means I need to go up to 14.5 and then go to the right 2, 1, 2. So this point's going to be roughly about here. So drawing my line. So if you notice from left to right, that line is increasing. So I have a positive slope, which is represented in my equation, which is that 1/2. And it also gives me a positive y-intercept, which is roughly about there. All right. So you want your slope to be a fraction. Okay. You want that. The y-intercept, it'll be nice if it was a decimal, and then you can guesstimate. Because if they're giving you this as multiple choice, then you get to pick, okay, I got a positive slope. Once you got there, you're just like, oh, Audrey, something kind of went wrong. What went wrong? Because didn't I start out with a negative 1/2? See, this is what happens when you start tutoring all day. So when I plugged it in, people were trying to tell me this. This should have been a negative. If that was a negative, that's going to change my graph, right? So I'm going to erase it. I don't care if this is live, yes or no. I'm going to erase this because if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. So still can keep it as 2. This is still going to be positive. But when I multiply, this is going to be negative. And then this will be a negative. So this is not going to be a positive 13.5. Nope. And I hope a lot of you guys are probably like, oh, finally, someone that's like being real. Someone that's like, you know what? I screwed up. Let me make it right. Okay. So in this case, it's going to be 6.5. So much better. So that's 2, 4, 6. We could say this is 0.5 right here. That means I'm going to go up one step. Boom, over 2, 1, 2. Or nope, down one step because it's negative. See, already screwing up again. Okay, down one step and then over 1, 2. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. This is what happens when you tutor from like 9 o'clock in the morning to about 7:30. And I'm still haven't eaten anything yet. Okay. So girlfriend is running on gas. Literally. All right. So as you can see, even with an expert, we screw up too. And you can see how my graph has completely changed. When it was positive, it was going that way. But now it really was a negative 1/2. So it's supposed to be going downwards. All right. So when you take a look at it, again, we all got to watch out for our signs. You can see how it all shifted. So if you're looking at this as an ordered pair, not an ordered pair, but as a multiple choice problem, and you know you're supposed to have a negative slope and they give you different graphs, make sure you do process elimination. If you see a graph that's going upwards, then you can eliminate it because your slope is not positive. Your slope was negative. With your slope being negative, then you can do the process of elimination. Okay. Remember, this is going to be all of these except for the Accuplacer. Accuplacer, you don't have a timing with it. But the GED, it's a time test. ASVAT, to an extent, is a time test. Okay? It also depends on what branch you're going for. Because it's a little more intense for Navy than if I compare it to Army. All right? So, if anything, if you can do a little bit of like, I know I'm looking for a slope that's going downwards, process elimination, okay, now you got it down to 2 choices, okay? When you take these tests, they don't care that you, oh, I perfectly understand the information. They just want to know, do you know my answer? Great, mark it down, keep it moving, all right? So, with that being said, I kind of want to address that I'm making all this in my math notebook. Yes, I designed this math notebook. I purposely had the formulas on one side. We're going to write down some of the steps on this side, and also to give you room to not only to calculate, but also to graph. And as I keep showing that if I go to the other side, it doesn't leak all the way through. There may be some little glowings of highlighter, but it doesn't go all the way through. If I wanted to do more practice on the other side with graphs, I can do that. I can do more practice on this side. Okay. So I constantly try to show a lot of these things that you can organize your notes. And the neater that you have your notes, and it doesn't just work for algebra. It also works for geometry when I'm looking at the length of arc lengths. It also works when I'm trying to find remote interior angles and I'm using some algebra in front of it. And I'm also using the other side. I can just cut up bits and pieces of my worksheets and do the problems on the other side. Okay? If your teacher says, look, I definitely want you to have this worksheet in your books, that's fine. You can tape it on the side that has the grid on there, no problem. But then you can have the students summarize what is on that paper on the notes section. So they'll have a better understanding of how to do the things. They have a better understanding of like how we're going to break these concepts down and what formulas, if they did give us formulas or steps that need to be taken to find your correct answer. So I'll show you the other stuff of it towards the end, but I just wanted to kind of give you a little idea. But here's one other that I want to try. What happens if they don't give you the slope? Instead, they give you two ordered pairs. And you're probably like, oh dear sweet God. No, it's okay. It's all right. You're going to make it through. Trust me, guys. I wasn't always smart with math. Oh man, I used to suck at math. Like horrible. Like hardcore. But if they give you two ordered pairs, we need to figure out a slope, and we have 2 points to pick from. So in order for us to figure out our slope, this is my first point. So that'll be my x1 and my y1. This is my second point. As you guys like to say, x2 and y2. It's supposed to be the subsets, but we'll be fine with that. So now we need to find the slope. So slope is the change of your y's over the change of your x's. Always keep with the same pattern. So if you want to do 3 minus 7 and then 2 minus 4, you can do that. This will give you a negative 4. This will give you a negative 2. And negative divided by a negative, when the signs are the same, your answer is always going to be positive. And then 4 over 2, that'll give me an answer or a slope of 2. If you want to do it the other way, say if you wanted to do 7 minus 3, and then you want to do 4 minus 2. Now I got a positive 4 over a positive 2. Reduced still gives me 2. So I just wanted to show you that it doesn't matter which way you go, but I know here in the States, we read from the left to the right. So it makes it so much easier for me to find the difference of my y's going from left to right, and then the difference of my x's going left to right. Either way, we found our slope. We found our m. So if I want to use my point slope formula, I just need to pick one of these 2 points. It doesn't matter which one. Because if I created the slope using both of these, that means both of them are going to be on that same line. So I get to pick. I don't know. If you want to pick for me, you can pick for me. Hey, Tiffany, if you guys want to pick, I'm going to keep it simple because I'm lazy. So I like to do 2 and 3. So this will be my x1, this will be my y1, and we're going to use m as my slope. So when you have your y minus y1 equals your m times x minus x1, all we're doing is filling information in. The y1 was the 3. The m is 2. And my x1 is also 2. So all I'm doing is a distributive property. So you're probably like, Audrey, you're kind of running out of room. Hey, that's life. So all I'm doing is I'm taking this 2, and when I distribute, I multiply. So 2 times x gives me 2x. You can't combine a 2 and a variable. Okay, a number and a variable can't do it. But 2 times negative 2, that gives me a negative 4. Now everything in front comes on down. But the goal when you're solving an equation, you want to get y by itself. So the best thing that I can do is subtract this 3, or that minus 3. I'm going to add the 3. You always do what's called the inverse. Okay? In the updated version of my book, this is not here because I knew sometimes students go all the way to the end like I do. So I basically can cancel these 3's out because one's positive, one's negative. So that means I have y equals 2x and then negative 4 minus 3 gives me a negative 7. This is my equation of the line. It's an equation of the line that's going to contain these 2 points at a slope, at a positive slope of 2. So now all I need is to draw my graph. So since I'm starting at negative 7, I'm going to come about here. And then I'm going to take more about up here. Because I don't need so much of the positive numbers, more so the negatives. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and a little 1 right there. So first point is going to be on negative 7. You always start at the y-intercept. So here's negative 5, negative 6, negative 7. That's where my first point goes. From there, I'm looking at the slope. So the slope is 2 over 1. Anytime it's a whole number, you put it over 1. You always have to have your rise, which is 2, 1, 2, and my run, which is 1. So I go up 2, and I go over to the right 1. I can do it again. Up 2, over to the right 1. All right. Now, the best thing about slopes, if I have a positive slope 2 over 1, it's also equivalent to negative 2 over negative 1. So if I want to, I can start at my y-intercept and I could go down 2, but I would go to the left 1. Notice, that is completely lined up with the other 3 points that I just made. So I still have my positive slope because from left to right, it's going upwards, as well as I have my y-intercept, and it starts here at negative 7, and then this is going to be my graph. So if they give you 2 order pairs, find the slope. And then if they give you multiple choice and they say, okay, which one matches with this graph? If I got a positive slope, that means from left to right, that graph should be going upwards. If it's going downwards, eliminate it, cut it, and then keep it moving, okay? Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate that. So hopefully this is going to be something that's going to be a little helpful, right? Especially for people that's going to be trying to take these exams. And it's like, don't let the math portion freak you out from not achieving your greatness, guys. Come on now. If I can pass the test and teach math for 22 years, when I used to see a fraction, I was like, nope. Word problems? Oh, hell no. I ain't doing that. It was like a battle just for me to try to do a word problem. Nope, wasn't going to do it. But I had to learn. I had to break these things down. I had to face this fear. I feel like I spend all my life facing fear. We're not supposed to be experts at things. We're supposed to fail, learn from it, and develop from it. All right? So keep being positive. So, in addition to holding notes, this math notebook is also a great resource. All right, all these problems that we're sitting here talking about, I'm going to try to scratch it right here. So if you're not strong with your multiplication tables, don't worry. I got you. This is called a factor sheet. I know, it's like, ooh, pretty, right? The yellows are your prime numbers. The blues is like your perfect square roots, or perfect roots, all right? And then what you see in red, I'm going to see if I can scroll up here. And what you see in red is helpful when you're trying to break down radicals. So those perfect prime combinations. Now, I've seen a lot of books and PDFs that goes from 1 to 100. But of course, I got to be extra. I have to go all the way to 200. Okay. This is designed for kids that are like, or for people that are from 7th grade doing like algebra 1 all the way up to my adult learners. So people that are going back to community college, and some people that are in college, I actually have them do this because I do tutor some college students. And they find this so helpful, especially this section, because they can get to the answer so much quicker. And after a while, they don't need this because they're so used to being exposed to the factors of our problems. Now, in addition to it, you got the rules of integers when you're adding, when you're subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, as well as what are those words and phrases that they need to break down word problems. What is the most popular words for addition, for subtraction, multiplication, division, equals, oh dear sweet baby. And then also inequalities. When it says is more than, that doesn't mean the same as more than. More than is addition, is more than is an inequality. The same goes things for less than. Less than and is less than, two separate worlds. So to have that at the ready, it's perfectly fine. Then also, we're looking at the different formulas. Hey, we just looked at this. We looked at slope, the equation of line, point slope form. Okay, all the equations that you'll see, and especially some of the stuff, the quadratic formula, that you will also see at either 3rd or 4th quarter of Algebra 1, but definitely in also Algebra 2. Then you have your order of operations. Then you have your exponents, okay? Those laws of exponents, to get those. These can probably save you so much time. Just get used to the problems. As well as looking at the surface area and the volume of 3D figures. Also the area of the sector and also arc length. And then we go a little bit into trig. This is when it starts getting into the advanced part of it, okay? We got the Pythagorean theorem. A lot of people know it, okay? But then we got our sine, cosine, tangent. Then we have the reciprocal, the quotient, the Pythagorean identities, the negative angle identities. We see this a lot in the Algebra 2 and also the trig and some parts of geometry. If your kid is taking advanced math, yep, they're going to see that. And also the sine and the cosine rule. And then, ring, we have the unit circle. Yep, anyone that's taken Algebra 2, you should be familiar with the unit circle. Okay, all students take calculus. This is something that's going to be a time saver. Okay, you can also take a look at it when you're translated as a table, and then you can also look at it as the original circle. Now, just like anything else in math, we all need a break. I know I do. All right, I know. If you ever hear something running through, my holder is like in the way. So I have brain break sections. This is great, especially for the kids that are in the classroom. You just need a moment. Here's a couple puzzles. Here's a Sudoku. Get your color pens, the erasable pens or whatever out. Have fun. Color. Let your mind go blank for a second so it can actually get a chance to refocus, recalibrate. If you're into pixel art, I'll give you a moment for you to do pixel art and also a moment for you to do sketching. So when it really comes down to, after we do everything, the one part I'm not sure if you've been noticing, at the very top of the Cornell notes section, I have 3 things: before the lesson, during the lesson, and after the lesson. I know administrators are always asking, how do you know that your kids are learning? It's like, how do you know this? And a lot of people will say, well, because they just put their thumbs up and thumbs down. A lot of the kids usually put their thumbs up because they don't want to be the odd person out. So the easiest way to do this is to, hey, when they come in, they can nonchalant just be like, how are you feeling today? You know what? Feeling pretty meh. I hate life. I don't like it. Then during the lesson, how are you feeling during the lesson? While they're maybe doing a couple things of practice, ask them, meh, I'm feeling fine. But after they kind of get to it, say that this is day 1 of the lesson. The very first time they're seeing point slope. I'm expecting to see all reds or mostly mess, okay? I'm expecting after the lesson to see this. This is what I'm expecting on day 1. Now, if this was day 3 or day 4, okay, we need to have a talk. But this is something that teachers and also homeschool parents could use as a rule, just to use as I want to know how you're doing. Like, how is this resonating with you? So, that will be for today's lesson. As I said, I've been tutoring all day. And it's been a very whirlwind and see how things are going and getting kids ready for exams. Some people have midterms, some people don't. Some people had their midterms before the break, some people don't. So it's just been a whole bunch of stuff. But it's so great to see a lot of my students coming back. But if you are interested in purchasing and getting your own math notebook, you can. I have 2 versions, which I am still waiting for Amazon to drop my lovely copies so I can show it to you guys. Okay, but anyway. So we have, this one is for grade 7th grade and adult learners. And then we also have 4th through 6th grade. Now the difference mainly is the design of it, especially the grids part. The grid is a lot bigger for the 4 through 6, so they can actually fill in numbers to keep their place values. Trust me, I have this one student and I saw his notes and I felt seasick because it kept going like this. I felt like I was in I was like, I just can't. So that's what motivated me to want to design a notebook for 4th and 6th graders. All right. So it just basically makes the grid a lot bigger, and I had it on both sides, but they still had the mood tracker. They still had the formulas, and they still had the steps involved as well. But it's just that one piece. So they're both ready, available on Amazon. Now, if you are also a person that's like, you know what, Audrey, do you have a course like that? I felt like I can learn from you. I really want to get my GED. I really want to get this Accuplacer done and settled. I am actually working on courses and I'm about to release them soon. I just finally came up with a great idea, which will make it a lot easier for everyone else at the same time be able to get the support that you need. If you are interested, go ahead and screenshot this. Or if you want to, you could just shoot me a message on Messenger and just let me know which test are you thinking about taking and roughly when are you planning on taking it. Now, if you say next week, we'll do something, but I am not Mary. My name is Audrey, okay? I do not walk on water, and I don't know how to get everything done. But I will be here to support you as best I can. And if anything, if you want digital copies of the notebook, and you're just like, look, this is a little too expensive. The reason why it's more expensive is because I use the color, and it doesn't matter. I just wanted this to be in color originally. This is me being transparent. But the cost of just having this and versus having all of this was the same price. So I just said, forget it. Let me just make everything in color. Okay. So if you really want the digital copy, you can go to my website, acgmathtutoring.com, and you can purchase a digital copy of the full notebook. Okay. But again, if you want it on paperback, you can get it on paperback through Amazon. If you want a digital copy, you can get a digital copy through my website. And if you are interested in a course, hey, let's get started. This is supposed to be New Year, New You. It's not really a new you. It's just an improved version of you. And if you feel that getting this education and getting those classes and getting that certification is going to help you, then do it. I am here for you. All right. So I have been talking way too much. Now, for the people that came in here, thank you so much for the likes. Thank you so much for the love. I greatly appreciate it. I just want you guys to know, and I've been on here a little bit today, that you're amazing. And I know officially a lot of people usually have their New Year resolutions And when they do have their New Year resolution, they tend to give up by the second week. Now, if you missed a day, that's okay. Okay? It's okay to miss a day. If you just felt like this is too overwhelming, then back down. All right? This is about your life. This is about how you want to change. Not what I want, not what your partner wants, was what you want. I want you to live your best life because I don't know when we're going to be here and when the good Lord's going to want to take us. So you might as well have fun while you're here. Okay, good, clean fun. I don't have bail money. All right, so thank you so much for everyone stopping in. Thank you so much for the like and the loves. I greatly appreciate this. I will try to find like a perfect time. I'm not sure if this is the time, like roughly like 8:30, 9 o'clock, to be doing this, but I'm going to try, I'm going to try to put it in as best I can, but I'm going to try to pick a really good time that fits mostly everyone. All right. So again, have a lovely night and thank you so much for your time and attention. If you need me, just go ahead and message me. All right. Take care now. Bye.